strangers feel.
From dating to relationships, from sex to love, from Christianity to politics, from darkness to light, you have now entered into the real zone. Welcome to Conversations with Trent, where no topic of conversation is safe from discussion. Now, here he is, Mr. Epic himself, Trent Williams.
What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another conversation with Trent and Friends, featuring my lovely friends, my great friends, my beautiful friends, Coach Dee and the lovely Ursula. Good stuff. We're talking about navigating relationships, exploring the dynamics of human connections. Can you relate to you? Good stuff. Let's bring the ladies in. And actually, this topic comes from a viewer on relating to folks, and whether it be family, associates, friendships, relationships, all that stuff. Romantic relationships, that is. So let's bring the ladies in real quick. Get this GuMbOtAlk start going. What's going on? How y'all doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Hi. I am good. Hey, how's it going? What you guys? Everything good?
Everything's good. Can you hear us? Okay. We can roll.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said we can roll.
All right. Sounds good. Everything's fine because I changed my setup up. So everything's good?
Yeah, everything sounds fine.
All right. Good. Cool. Good stuff.
Hey, V. How you doing? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you as well.
Yeah. You feeling okay?
Yep, I'm good. I'm trying to, somebody's in a little bit of a bind, so I'm just helping them out real quick.
Oh, okay. Your friend is in a bind?
No, not a friend. Somebody they gave my number to reach out to.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. How's the little man, D?
He is good. He is happy this weekend because he didn't have any homework, because he has mastered place numbers. So his teacher sent homework home and then sent a note to specific parents telling me that they didn't have to do it because they already know how to do it. So I bet he got a little cocky, and he was telling me they did a test and somebody was asking where to put their name on it, and he was asking me where they should put it when he's done. And I'm like, sir,
okay.
We need to be a little respectful of other people. We don't do that.
Absolutely. So the topic coming from a viewer, talking about relatability, talking about connections, human connections, and the dynamics of a human connection, and exploring that and whatnot, whether it be relationships, romantic relationships, associates, or family members. So as I was diving into this topic, writing it up, I got to thinking about how I didn't relate to a ton of folks, before this incident took place in my life, before I placed these foreign shoes on with this condition and whatnot. I had more empathy for folks and relating to them, trying to understand them after this took place in my life. I have to be honest and transparent. I wasn't always like that. So, being
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Once these foreign shoes was placed onto my feet, it made me want to understand people more, because at that time I had a turbulent situation with family members and some friends who I felt like left me behind. when I had all these tragedies strike, right? So got me to turning that mirror inward and thinking about that, right? I'm like, damn, was I really relating to these people? Even family members, like I felt like they didn't have any compassion of anything for my situation, because I was always looked upon as the strong one and whatnot. So I'm like, wow, was it me or was it them? And the way I look at it now is mostly me because I didn't relate to them. And Dee could tell you, I was very stubborn. And if they didn't relate to me and they didn't understand where I was coming from, I didn't want to be bothered. I was good with it. So having
Before
that
you
type of
condition.
exactly having that type of attitude put up boundaries for myself. You guys understand what I'm saying to you? Like I placed those boundaries up and left them up, and they didn't know how to climb that wall at that point. So I stopped doing this and started doing this. So it was, what I'm saying? Mostly it was on me. It was on me that I didn't relate to them and they didn't relate to me. And I took it like, okay, so what? That was the attitude I took on. Go ahead, Dee. What you say?
I said a lot of people are not empathetic until they are affected personally.
There you go. That was
and
me.
People don't realize that. It's the same thing with voting. Like the lady in Texas who was very adamant about women's rights, as she should be. She voted against it until it affected her, and then it's like, whoa, wait a second. That's like the right now in Congress, they're going to put in a budget up front. Within that budget, a lot of people don't know there's a voter registration rule. The voter registration rule only affects married women, where you can't register to vote if your birth certificate name doesn't match your ID name.
Yeah, they try
so if you have a real ID like I do or a passport, you're not going to be able to vote because if you're like 80 years old, can't find your marriage certificate, your birth certificate doesn't match your driver's license.
Exactly.
So, like, people don't realize that until people start looking at it and they're like, oh, that affects me. I'm like, well, yeah, honey.
Yeah, absolutely.
You didn't care if it didn't bother you. Now it does. So, yep, it's very common. Very common.
Let's say hi to the folks before we start digging in here. One quick second.
/ Grand Rising Melanie, people greeting Princess Coach Dee, Urs, and Mr. Epic.
What up, Slash? Hey, Slash, give me a 1-2 if the microphone is good.
I hear a little feedback.
You hear a little feedback? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm sorry.
No, you good. You good. How about now?
So what's the goal today? Are we talking about how people stay in toxic relationships because they're afraid to walk away, or they?
Wait, one more time. I didn't hear you.
Are we going to be discussing how people stay in toxic relationships because they're afraid to walk away?
I mean, we could touch on that. We could touch on that. It's more we're talking about like relatability as far as people relating to one another and how can we get a clear understanding of folks. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can folks relate to one another? Even if I don't relate to you, it's okay. It's totally fine. I can still treat you in a cordial manner and be cordial with you. I don't have to deal with you. If we don't relate, we don't relate. If we don't read the same book. If we don't go to the same library, you know.
I visited this story on many occasions. One in particular is I remember a time in my life where I don't want to be too transparent, but I'm gonna be a little transparent and say where maybe some of how I felt about and how I approach marriage didn't line up with how other people felt and approach marriage. And because of that, I had a friend that was going to be getting married, and she kind of like said, hey, listen, I don't prefer to be friends with you because the way you're approaching marriage right now and the way I'm approaching it is two different ways. And so she disconnected from me for like 3 years. And so it sort of kind of hurt the human side of me because I thought we were friends. You know what I mean? And I was like,
what's going on, Al?
you know,
I see you.
Hey, Uncle Al. And I thought we was friends. And so, and in some sense, I guess we were friends as long as we were hanging out together. And so, but because I didn't, my way of embracing marriage, because I was at the end of mine, didn't line up with the way she was embracing it, because it was the beginning for her. It made her feel like it's very hurtful, but we couldn't be friends, you know.
Right.
And
And
so
that's okay. And that's okay. That's the whole
Mhm.
point to the whole. When I got the show topic, I was like, okay, that made me go inward. You know, that made me pull that mirror inward and thinking about, you know, that situation with these foreign shoes on with this condition. I'm like, I had to be honest with myself. I was like, it was me. It wasn't them. It was me. I
Yeah.
was stand up.
right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's okay. To me, in my opinion, it's okay if I don't relate to them. There's a ton of family members that I don't relate to. There's a ton of friends I do not relate to. And it's okay.
So can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
When you don't relate to your family members, do you disconnect from them, or what do you do to, because they're
It,
your family, so you can't unfamily them. So, you
I,
know,
I
they're
totally,
family.
I totally, I
You
totally
can.
disagree with you on that one. You
You
can.
can't
Yes, you
unfam.
can. Yes, you
Listen, your
can.
family,
Yes, you can.
your family is
Nope.
your family.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
We'll,
Nope. Nope.
You
Nope. Nope.
can't
we'll
unfamily
disagree on
your
that.
family.
Nope.
We'll
Unfamily,
disagree
like
with that.
it's not a button, y'all. It's not
Hold
like
on a
on
second.
Facebook, like an
Hold on.
unfriend, unfamily.
Yes, it
We ain't
is. I'm tell
family
you,
no
yes, it is. Hold on a second. Yes, it is.
This is one
Especially
thing me and
if
Trent agree with.
exactly. If they're coming with toxic, yes, you can disconnect.
What do you do?
If
Because you
they
can't not be their family. Like you cannot talk to
Urs,
them,
hold,
but
hold
they're
on a
still
second.
your family. Okay.
Urs, I did this for 4 years. When I became paralyzed, I did this for 4 years. I disconnected from one of my brothers for 4 years. Alvin would come and visit me, wipe me, clean me, and everything. I would see Alvin every day. Alvin never told my other brother he would see me at all. And that's the way I wanted it, because he wasn't good for me at the state, in the condition I was in. He wasn't good for me. He wasn't good for my recovery. He wasn't good for nothing that I had going on in the early stages of this recovery. So Alvin protected me. And Alvin understood, hey, I don't want this dude around me. I didn't see him for 1 year. And I was good with that.
Well, I will agree that there's level to recovery too. And like if you're in
Yeah.
a very feeble stage and someone comes around with toxicity, even if just a little bit of toxicity can really make you take
Absolutely.
you back instead of forward. You know
But
what I
here's the
mean? In your
thing, though, right?
recovery.
Here's the thing. It's not that I didn't love him. We have a wonderful relationship now. And
That's what I
still,
was asking.
yeah, we have a wonderful relationship now. I mean, we still do business together. He just got to take care of those invoices. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Black Lightning Trucking. But anyway,
They don't do that.
that's
That's
me being a
not
little
for
petty.
airing out family. Okay, that's
And,
petty.
it's
You know I
petty.
love you.
That's he and I. He know
Yeah.
I love him straight up. And we joke about stuff like this, right? We joke about it now because we're in a great space as far as the relationship. But the moment that toxic stuff starts surfacing again, I place him in another box. So I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? That he's not good for growth at that point. When he's acting toxic, he's not good for growth. So I let
I
him
want us
think
to
about
talk
that.
offline about another part of that, but not online, because I think we need to
Yeah,
do
but
some therapy on that
but
topic.
I told yeah, I mean we can. But I totally disagree with you when you say that you can't disconnect from family. Yes, you can. If
So
they if your family's not serving you the right way, it's okay to put up a healthy boundary. Come on. Coach D, talk about
okay,
those.
so you can put up a healthy boundary, but you don't unfamily family.
Nah, they'll
Family.
think
You don't choose to be born into a family. They're there by circumstance only. That's right. I have family members I haven't talked to in decades who have not and will never meet Xavier because they are toxic, they are harmful, and he does not need to be exposed to that. Point blank. I have chosen family that I served with in the army that
right.
if they called me up to move a bobby, I wouldn't ask a damn thing. I would drive up, help them out, and be gone. Nothing
That's
said.
called a healthy boundary,
Yeah.
Urs. That's called a healthy boundary. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't want
Mm-mm.
people to get it misconstrued and say, well, oh, we just unfriended friend. No, that's a healthy boundary. You're placing up
Yeah.
a healthy boundary.
I was about to
It's
say, because
okay.
I have 2 sisters and a brother, and there's times when we're definitely not on the same page. I'm definitely not on the same page with 1.5 of my sister.
So
I have 2
have
sisters.
you ever
1.5 of
put
my
up a
sister,
healthy
I'm not on.
boundary?
Huh?
Have you ever put up a healthy boundary?
I think my sisters, they put up the healthy boundary, but I just think that because we're family, I don't unfamily them. But I'm learning now how to do. I do seek my I seek internal peace, but not because inwardly I seek peace, but not because it's just because of where I am and how I've grown. And so I did have to so I've been blocked by them on the phone, and I have had to block
I
my
don't do the
siblings.
blocking thing.
And it's
I don't
so,
do the
and that's where
blocking.
I'm going with this. So, but it's, to me, if it's someone that's close to you, I mean, you never know who you're gonna need. So, I mean, here's the thing: I would just kind of like process how I, put up those healthy boundaries. But I'm not saying
Let me
that
give
they
an
shouldn't
example.
exist.
Let me give an example, right? Let me give an example.
Mhm.
Okay, my healthy boundary consisted of me creating space to continue on this journey with this recovery. I'm 1,000% better that I didn't have him in that space with me at that time. And he knows, I mean, I've written books about these guys over the years. They know, and you guys
Mhm.
know, I ride with
Mhm.
the horseman. I ride with him. Nobody, I wrote an entire novel, the recovery book. It's actually a novel, but I decided not to publish it at this time because I don't think that our relationship would take that if it was released with the recovery book, the guidebook. So that's why I placed the guidebook before the novel. And I also thought that it was more important to release the guidebook to help people in similar situations. So I wasn't going to release all the drama that I went through with that until after. I don't think he's ready for that book. So I released something positive for people with different abilities because that's what I'm on this journey about. That's what it's for. Me helping those folks. I'll circle back and get my brother. But that both of those books are released. I want to say in the opening, it's fall. Today is fall. The recovery book is
Yeah.
here. So
Oh, it
yeah,
is
today
finished.
is
Yeah,
fall.
it is.
Yeah, today is
I
fall.
think that's what
So
my nose was saying yesterday. Tinker, tinker, it's fall. You
exactly.
got to start
Exactly.
getting some warm stuff in your body.
So I had the growth within me. The old Trent, the old Arthur Trent Williams, the one who hadn't grown but still writing books and helping thousands of people. I would have released that book, didn't even think about his feelings. But I thought about his feelings on this one. That means that there was more growth in me. So I'm not going to release that book until I have a conversation with him. But the recovery book for the people with different abilities, it's fall, baby. It's fall.
So after hanging out and going to Barnes and Nobles, it
Yeah.
really helped me to think more in depth about when you do have your book signed, and even this topic tonight, like when someone isn't in the same season you're in, and
Yeah.
how do you
The, the,
how do
the
you
recovery book, the recovery book is a guide. I talk about support systems. I talk about family support. I talk about animal support, dog support, as you guys can see Kobe in the background. What's more important? So it's a guide to walk people through the process of creating healthy boundaries when the family members are not lining up with what's going on in your life. At that moment, it's okay to create that healthy boundary.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't relate with you at this time. So let me circle back on you. It's simple. And it's not not in a chaotic way. It's not in uh a toxic way. That's just me saying, hey, I love you, but I have to love you from a distance at this time. That's all. We don't relate. Go ahead,
Oh yeah.
Coach D.
I have two younger sisters. I'm a Jack Satter. We were latchkid kids, right? So I parent both my sisters, and we
Right.
agree and disagree on a regular basis. And I
Yeah.
adore them. We have firm boundaries. And do we always talk to each other? No, because
No,
we're in different spaces in life. But here's the thing: if my youngest sister called me and said she needed me in Australia, I would be on a plane to fly to her,
we
even though
riding,
we don't
baby.
I
talk on
like
a
that.
regular basis.
Okay.
We riding,
Perfect.
baby.
But here's the
That's
thing:
just like
I will ride and die for you, but you
Okay.
cross me or mine,
Exactly. Don't play with
and
me.
you
Exactly.
don't. You will meet the fury of a red-headed black Irish woman, and there's no anger that you will ever see that will
Exactly.
show that. But you know what? People, not everybody's in your life for a lifetime. Sometimes they're
Exactly.
there
And
for a
I asked,
reason, sometimes a season. You know what? And not everybody is your person. That's why I tell people all the time when they're dating. Just because they're your person now doesn't mean you're their person. Like Trent and I used to date. We are much better friends. Like we were good together as a couple, but we were much better as friends. And that's
absolutely. I
just the
totally
way it is
agree.
for some. That how it goes. Like
Yeah.
we'll be friends till the day we die,
Absolutely.
and
That's my
because we
buddy,
have
man.
firm boundaries about what with each other. Right? We'll talk
Exactly.
about everything,
Exactly.
but there's still boundaries. And a lot of people get boundaries mixed up with what is allowable. Right? They will
Exactly.
push and push and push and push to see how far you allow your boundary to be pushed. But if you have
That's
firm boundaries, like, yeah, we're good. Off you go.
exactly. That's Urs. That's just like yesterday. We met up and hung out at Barnes and Noble and chatting it up about the topic and all that good stuff. Had a wonderful time. Even though you're drinking hot plain coffee, I had the white mocha
I kind of
going
was,
on with the
I was a
A
little bit in
plain
my
coffee.
feelings when I got home about the coffee because, it didn't have a shot in it. I forgot to get a shot.
you should have
Uh,
got the shot. But if you
yeah,
had the white mocha with me, you'd have been okay.
I don't
But
drink fancy coffee. I'm not a fancy coffee girl.
so
Oh my!
as
I
I'm
don't know if
In
talking,
you
my
I don't
Coach
know if
D.
you
in my
should step
Wendy
into it
Williams
anymore.
voice, I don't do fancy coffee. I just need coffee.
So Coach D, as I'm talking to Ursula and I'm talking to her about the topic and talking about my brother and I and all that stuff, she had no idea that he and I go at it back and forth like that over the
Mm,
years, because she's
good.
always seen and you always seen the four horsemen. We've always We'll always be like this, always. No matter one's gone, one's passed away, we're always like this. That was nobody's business.
Yeah.
Nobody's business at all. So she was like, wow, y'all had problems? I said, yeah, big problems. But I'll never cross him.
Yeah.
And if somebody
He's like,
cross him, they got a problem with me.
yeah, he's with his brothers like I am with my sisters. We will argue back and forth, but somebody else come in and try it.
Don't
Oh,
say
that's a problem.
Mm-mm.
I do that with my former sister-in-law. I'm like, look, look,
Yeah,
look, look. I would say, hey, listen. She said, I want to talk about your brother, and I'll listen. And I'm like, I can listen as long as it's
right.
pertaining to the children, to the daughter, to my niece. But I said, I can say these things, but you can't,
Yeah.
I
because
give you an
this is
example. I give you guys a funny example real quick. Alvin's gonna
Mhm.
laugh his ass off because he reminded me of this. Maybe last month. When I opened up a bar and grill here in New Orleans, um, after I slowed down on the book tours, right? So opened up a bar and grill, and outside had the wings going from the East Bank to the West Bank. Oh, we'll pop it. Urs, you've been there a couple of times.
yeah.
So I had a problem with a DJ I hired, right? And honestly, it was bad business on my part. I got rid of him and didn't pay him. I didn't want to pay him because I thought he did a shitty job. So he was going around saying what he was going to do to me. And it circled back to Greg and Torrance. So Greg approached the guy. They went and found the guy. He's like, hey, hold on a second. We're going to make sure he
I
pays.
love Greg.
So
I want
Alvin
to talk
told me,
about Greg.
he said Greg found the guy and said Greg walked up to him and said, hey, hold on a second. We're gonna make sure he pay you. We're gonna make sure he compensates you, but nobody's gonna do nothing to him. I hear what you're saying, what you say you're gonna do to him, and y'all gonna do this and that to him. He said, nah, that ain't gonna happen. So, like with Greg, Greg and I like that. But same thing with Torrance. He was like, hey, it ain't gonna happen like that. We got to bring these streets back into it. So you might want to relax. We'll make sure you get you make sure you get compensated, but nothing's gonna happen. So
I want to.
just because they don't see us talking, they think that, oh, they had eyes. No, that's not it at all. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. That wouldn't be healthy for you. But go ahead.
Yesterday when we were hanging out for a moment getting a coffee, I I had at one point I looked at your head.
Well, hold on a second. Let's hide that Al. That's my older brother always supporting. What up, Al?
Al
Sal?
says
What do
true
you say?
story.
Yeah,
Good
true
story.
story. Yeah. Hey Shan.
What up, Shan?
Yesterday when you got in the car and it was
Yeah.
a moment I looked at your head in the back of your head
Uh-huh.
back here. And
Yeah.
I saw Greg and I said, man, that was my moment. That
Yeah.
was my moment that I accepted that the guy we used to go back and forward in the yard with
Yeah.
about who was the better artist.
I remember
The
that.
dude
Yeah.
from Chicago, the Step in the Name of Love dude,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
the Prince guy, or the Michael Jackson. We would have the best, and we would all keep saying, like, I don't know, I keep on going back because we would put song after song after song. It was so funny. We had great time. Greg was an amazing character, and it hit me yesterday that I will never see him on this side again, And it was
I appreciate that.
we had so many moments that we thought we would always have. Like we just thought they would exist,
Mm. Now
Yeah.
stop it, so I'm gonna go to crying. So Coach D,
Yeah,
take it away
yeah,
real quick.
Listen,
yeah.
life is short. That's why I
Yeah.
tell you, you want to keep the people that serve you best around. That's why I hate the whole "we agree to disagree." I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to agree to disagree with somebody whose views harm me, mine, or other people. Like you
Right.
saw how feisty I get last week when you guys started talking. Don't you want to talk about harming people? You're on
Would
that
you like
list.
to know how many times you cussed? I had a counter.
Did somebody count? Oh my god! How many times did I cuss?
It was 4.5.
What do you mean half? How do I get a half a cuss?
What you started, then you stopped.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because here's the thing: human beings are meant to be a village. We're meant to come together. We're meant to group and be as one. I'm a very empathetic person. If you do all personality tests, I'm all about relationship building. I can get along with just about anybody, right?
Right.
There's very few people I don't get along with. But if you have harmful views, I have very firm boundaries on what are allowable, and those are not allowable, right? If
Absolutely.
you don't think women should have rights, you don't think women should have choice over their bodies, you don't think that Jewish people should exist, you think slavery should be back, all this stuff, no,
Right.
that's all harmful stuff. So when I see people on TikTok stuff, I'm like, you know what, you're trash. I'm just gonna delete you off my friends list. I'm gonna unfollow you. I'm not gonna buy from your store. I'm good. I
Exactly.
give my money to places that I feel it works best. And I learned how to make coffee so I wouldn't go to Starbucks anymore. So,
Knock
I'm
it
very
off.
firm in that. And
Well, blame Shannon for actually putting me up on this Starbucks. That's crack. That is serious crack.
it is.
Like
It is really good, but they promote genocide, so we won't go there. Um, and you know what? There's so many people out there that that think that they're not loved. Like today I'm wearing my Stay Another Day sweatshirt, right?
okay,
On the
okay.
back it has 99 reasons to stay another day,
Boom. I
right?
love that.
And it's all about like who we are as people. We should be coming together, right?
Exactly.
There's so many good, like when we come together and there's diverse groups, there's so many great ideas and so much creativity that we have.
Exactly.
And too often we're so busy being this side or that side. That's why I said last week I don't wear a hat. But here's the thing: if your views are harmful, you're gone. And people are
Exactly.
like, well, that's not very empathetic or coach like. I'm like, you know what? It's very empathetic coach like because I have very, very firm boundaries,
Yeah,
right?
ladies and gentlemen, I mean you're gonna get the straight talk, no chasing when you come to the conversation with the Gumbo crew. You're gonna get straight talk, no chasing, you're gonna get some transparency. So when you guys see me talk about my brothers or talk about any of my friends, oh my God, nah, because they know me. They know I'm gonna go there.
Hmm.
If I put you in a book, that means I love you.
Yeah.
If I say something, that means I love you. I love you. If you're in one of those books, I love you. So, and you're not surprised that you're in that book. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm gonna go back to taking responsibility for the toxic I brought to the party. Once, like I
Yeah.
said in the opening, once these foreign shoes was placed on my feet with this condition, I had to do some soul searching. I had to turn that mirror inward. I really did. Because I'm like, wow, where everybody, all dependents took flight. I mean, I was always good to these people.
Mm.
I was always good to them, always looking out for them. I mean, what's going on? But I had to look and turn that mirror inward. I wasn't relatable. And thanks to sending that topic in class, because I did some soul searching, man. That's why I wrote that up like that.
Yeah.
You know, how do we connect as humans? And I had to do some soul searching. I'm like, wow, they're not here because they didn't relate to me and I didn't relate to them. I was foreign to them, and I kind of pushed them out, and I placed a boundary,
Mhm.
and which I was absolutely wrong for placing those boundaries on people that didn't relate to me, didn't see things my way.
Yeah.
So that
And
was
we
totally on me.
yeah. And we
That's
all have
totally
to
on
be
me.
accountable for our toxic trait, because we all have them. If somebody says they don't, then stay far, far away from
Absolutely.
them
Absolutely.
because they have a lot of work
So,
to do.
so the only one that stuck by me as far as family, as far as, in a brother area, I'll be Alvin. That's my older brother. And wipe me, clean me, bathe me, everything. Brandy as well. Well, Brandy works for me. But Alvin in the early stages, and Alvin's, Shannon calls him a gentle giant. And he was like, I'm coming back there. I'm gonna take care, do what I do. At some point I had to have my blood pressure taken every hour on the hour. He
Yeah.
was there 7 o'clock every single morning. That's how I started walking again, because he didn't want to get me off of the pan anymore. He was like, I can't keep wiping your ass, so we got to work this out. so, so, so he would roll the wheelchair behind me, and he was there. He was there, and I didn't relate to Torrance. I couldn't relate to him when I came back from Michigan. I didn't relate to him. The only ones I related to was Greg and Alvin, because honestly, they allowed me to continue with my brat ways and my selfish ways, to be honest with you.
I remember
They allowed me
so
to continue.
we had gone over to Torrance's wedding in Kenner.
Oh, you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a young lady there that you were dating.
Me? What? Urs,
And she
we talk about a topic. We talk about a topic. Let's leave that aside. I don't remember who it was, so stop.
No, keep going. We're transparent
Stop.
here.
Go ahead, Urs. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I was like, I watched you. I watched you.
Is that right? Okay.
I watched you the entire time. I watched
Okay.
you.
I don't
And
remember. I don't remember seeing it, but you say you were there.
I was there.
Okay.
I was there because I think it was like everybody had white on. It was like a tarp. We were in Kenner, and I remember
Yeah.
we was out in Kenner at a park in Kenner. It was nice. It was nice. It was really nice. And you treated that girl so bad.
I was a horrible mess. So yeah, I was a hot mess. Everybody knew that.
I think he called.
But define when you say treated her so bad, define that, because I don't want people to think I'm putting a hand on women. Never done.
You didn't hit her. You didn't hit her. No, Lord knows you didn't hit her.
No, not at all.
You didn't hit her. You're not a fighter.
No, not at all. I'm a lover.
But you treated her bad.
And I think I know what you're talking about, where my eye was going in a whole bunch of different directions. So yeah,
I really.
Let's get to the comments real quick. We can go back to that, but let's get to the comments, because I'm getting these calls about comments.
Oh, Alvin says he was at that wedding. Shan said, "You're welcome. Starbucks is my crack. Go ahead, Urs." And was it one of the flies or fleas? Can't remember what you called them.
She wasn't a flea.
This is not the topic. This is not the topic, Shannon. So leave that where it is.
Well, it is kind of the topic because we're talking about relationships.
That's true. That's true.
Being in sync with people. And here's the thing. Sometimes some people will be in sync with somebody who is not. They shouldn't be. just to say that they have somebody.
I totally agree. So since we're gonna go there, I'll go there. I'll go there. So thanks for the alley Urs. So I didn't know how to communicate when I didn't relate with these women, these plethora of women that I had. I didn't know how to relate because I used to get bored quick and I'd lose interest and just stop whatever we were doing. I'd stop, like I cut it off completely, and still have them around,
Were you
almost like
at
a tote
Were
bag.
you at Lightning's wedding? Were you there?
I was in there. I was in that wedding.
Were you there?
Yeah,
How present were you on a scale of 1 to 100?
probably
Two,
30%, about
How
30%,
much? 30? Come honest. Come on, we being transparent. We're friends.
about
We
th-
can really talk.
about 30%. I really wasn't interested. About 30%. And the old Trent was the arrogant Trent, the huge ego, all this stuff. So I was present about 30% because I didn't like his choice. But I was there because the horseman asked me to be there.
And when you asked me a question yesterday about Urs, how do you feel how people take me? And I was like, sometimes it's tough, but I kind of get it because of where you're placed in on a spectrum of on an org chart as it relates to the birth year.
Yeah.
So on a birth year.
Yeah, and honestly, and I'm not placing blame, but they've always placed me on a different plateau. Like my brothers always, like at the age of 4, they would call me general. They still to this day call me general. So they've always placed me in a certain place.
And you're a good guy. That's why I remember. I remember the first time we connected at Dawn's garage.
Yeah.
On or around that time. And then there was the wedding a couple of years later. And
yeah, that was a complete disconnect because I didn't want to be there. So I honestly I went for Greg and Alvin because they asked me to be there. I had to be there because I was in the wedding, and I didn't want to. But
that poor lady, I was like, I wanted to say you're probably not gonna be around. And she was a kind heart, and so
let's unpack that. I don't want to say too much on that. Let's unpack.
I know.
So when I was saying, as far as relating, I didn't communicate when I didn't relate with you. I didn't do well with you relating, and I got bored with the situation. I just stopped, and that wasn't fair to any of them. That wasn't fair at all.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And that's the healing point. I wanted to share with this other guy. I'm like, that's a friend of mine. At some point you have to get all of that together. And
yeah, dude. So here, let's circle back.
The people know that it wasn't them, and that
let's circle back. That's what
it
the
was
books
you.
were. That's what the books were. That's
because,
what the books was. Hold on a second.
I'm thinking about that. Okay.
Hold on a second. That's what the books was written for. That's what I started the conversation on. That was my apology tour. That's why I went out every year and toured. That was my apology. There was no way possible I could actually apologize to all these women. So I wrote books about it and got in a room full of women, whether it be 100 or 1,000, and talk about my.
I just had that moment. I apologize for bringing it up because it definitely wasn't to shine a negative light on you.
It doesn't.
Okay,
I'm extremely transparent.
I've done that too. I've been around people and been in rooms where I wasn't present, and I wasn't present with the person.
Let's be clear. Everybody, like everything that I say on this, everything that let's be clear. Everything I say on this podcast, no one's surprised. Right. They know Trent. They know how I get down. So they're not surprised at all. But let's circle back to the growth part, right? When I got this topic in from the viewer, and I started writing this thing up, and I started thinking about my own situation, how people didn't relate to me. Again, when these foreign shoes was placed on my feet as far as becoming partially paralyzed. And I thought about that. I was like, wow. I was upset with them because they didn't relate to me. They didn't get me. That was totally on me. So I stopped doing it. Again, I stopped doing this and started doing this. It was totally on me that I created that boundary. I put that wall up. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
and like I said, it's okay if you don't relate with your family member or your friendships or your romantic relationship. But the most important thing is you have to communicate. It's imperative that you communicate and you say it and you talk about it. That's what I've learned throughout this process. That's why Torrance and I continue to do better because I tell him, I communicate these things to him now. Hey, man, that doesn't work for me. Give me some space real quick. So
You
it
know,
works for me now.
you know what my
So
problem is?
go ahead.
Um, I'm probably what's that show, The Shark? What's that show that the guy that the Keep America Great or whatever, Make America Great, Trump? I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah,
like
yeah.
that guy that sometimes like I'll give it a little bit. Me and my best friend only had one argument, and our argument went like this. Um, I said, Chantel, you don't give people a shot. And she said, and you give people too many shots. So if I really, really like you, I
I could
give you
agree
a
with
lot
her.
of chance.
I could agree with her. That's my last
If I
shade for the
really,
night.
really like you, you were good. If I really, really like you, I give you shots. But if I don't like you, and I'm still
Right.
trying to like you and figure this thing out, I don't give you people enough shots. And so that's my problem. When I don't give you enough shots, I can easily say the F word you in less than like quicker than you know.
Right.
And that's my
So
problem.
so Coach D, let's hover around the growth in this and with all this stuff and the lack of communication. And I didn't have the ability to communicate that, okay, we're not connecting, we're not relating, and we don't share the same book, we're not in the
Thanks
same
for
library.
replying, Shan. Shan's
We're
replying
not in
out
the
loud.
same
I appreciate
library.
it.
We're not in the same library, anything like that. Break that down and tell the folks what that looks like.
But
Yeah,
if you're on a growth path and somebody else isn't, yeah. So
correct.
here's the thing: no one, you can't make anybody change for one, right? Change has to be done by them. If they don't want to change, they're not going to change until they're ready. But when you're
Exactly.
changing is when people will start to pull back. People who see the change, there's gonna two things are gonna happen. One, you're gonna have people who are going to ask you what you're doing that is changing the light that you're shining, right? Because
Exactly.
they want a bit of that. They want to do what you're doing. And then there's the people who see it and run the opposite direction because now they are seeing what they're doing wrong and the things that they
Mhm.
are doing that's affecting different relationships within their lives. And so
Exactly.
it's an odd place to be sometimes
It
because
really
the
is.
people that you love the most might be running in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
And
And
you're
well,
oh,
okay. Well,
Let's get to the comments real quick because I'm getting hate mail right now.
Shan. Oh, I say, let me go back. Alan says, I was at the wedding. Shan says, tell the truth, Urs. Shan says, damn, get him, Urs. Was this the first or second marriage? And oh, I got questions. And then Shan says, I think most of us as women are guilty of that, Urs. No, we don't do generality. No, no.
well, let me say this. I wanted to say, um, I feel this. So, um, it's easy to cut people off that are insignificant. But I do like that Dee mentioned firm boundaries. I think
Right.
that is necessary. I think I can honestly say that after conversating with you, Trent, um, a little bit into COVID, I did see a different kind of person. And I was very, very proud of how you had, come into, and I'm and seeing eye to eye on a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
just the growth. So that brings me to when we say being in a library and growth, and do we say that because people aren't growing in our direction that they're not growing, and they're not going in our direction that they're not growing? Because somebody could still be growing over there like that, but just
Right.
because they're growing over there like that don't mean they're not growing. That just means that we're not growing in this unison pattern. If you're in a relationship, if you're a family member, and we're not growing in this pattern here. So I want to
No,
like,
no
I want
two,
to
no,
like,
no two people are going to grow in the same way.
Not at
right.
all.
So when we say having firm boundaries, I'm asking, are we saying that because somebody isn't growing like us, they're not growing?
No,
No,
it's
we're
not
saying,
about. Listen,
yeah, it's not about growth.
it's not about growth.
If somebody's harmful and you have boundaries set up, you have boundaries.
That's the
Okay.
Not
boundary.
everybody needs to be in your life.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll get a little transparent for you guys. Read Shan's comment so I don't get
Shan
this
said, I
this
didn't,
hate mail.
Shan's clarified, I didn't say everybody, it wasn't absolute. There are lots of women who have given parents more chances than they deserve. Yeah. Boy, you said a whole thing there.
True. And she also says,
Right. Everybody's not going to run in the same direction. Yeah.
Right.
absolutely. And I think one more.
Sherry, we already read that one.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, for me, when I give a backstory, if you guys go out and read Chapter the Delta or the Four Horsemen book, you guys can see my journey from LA to all across the country, all into Canada, everything. You guys can everything, overseas, everything. But for me, it was more when I finally made my way back south, I felt like I was in a foreign place. And it was irritating to me. So I saw the world, and I've been seeing the world since I was 17. So finally
Gotcha.
circling back and
I got you.
finally, like I was speaking with a friend of mine the other day, a childhood buddy. He owns a couple rental places, and a friend needed a place and whatnot. So I tried to connect him and all this other stuff. And it dawned on me that I hadn't seen the people that he was talking about since Marrero Middle. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, John, I'm sorry, I don't know him. He's like, yeah, you know Henry. I was like, yeah, but I really don't know him. I knew Henry when I
Yeah,
was
you
a
know
kid.
Henry. You know Henry.
I knew him when I was a kid, not a grown man.
Okay.
So you see what I'm saying? So that made me think back to when writing up this topic. Once I got this topic in, when the emails the topic in, so I'm like, you know what? I was frustrated at that time. Majority of the people, I couldn't relate to them anymore.
Okay.
I had grown, and it was frustrating to me. And the only people that I could relate to was Alvin and Greg. That was it. Alvin, Greg, and my mother. That's it. That was it. And I was taking it out on them. Like I was nasty toward them because I was like, I can't relate to that. And I was pushing it away. So hence I became the problem with this problem. I'm thinking nobody's being compassionate. I'm thinking nobody's going to be there. Nah, it was me because I'm the one that put the boundary up. It was me. But once I place these foreign shoes on, being partially paralyzed and have to walk this journey, that empathy kicked in. I'm like, oh shit, let me start trying to relate to these people because I need some loving. You understand what I'm saying? You get it?
If you go back, if you go back to when he brought the conversation back up when I first started, you can see the lack of empathy was still there.
Exactly. Yeah, it was still there. It was definitely still there. So once I started, going back on this journey, bringing the conversation back, that inward mirror, I had to take, I had to look at that inward mirror, man. You had to be honest with yourself. So sometimes it's not, and I said that to say, sometimes it's not them not relating to you. You don't relate to them, and you're being very offensive to them.
Mhm.
You're being very rude to these people. because they haven't grown and gone past where you've gone. So really the problem is you. It's not them, it's you.
Yeah.
And that's the way I looked at it. And it took a ton of growth. Again, it took a ton of growth because if I wasn't in this great space that I'm in now, that novel, the recovery novel, would be out today. But the guide, I thought that's where the empathy comes in, right? That's why I acquired the empathy. When those foreign shoes was placed on my feet, I started thinking about people with different abilities. I wanted them to see what I saw without going through it. So that's why the guidebook comes before the novel. The novel is filled with drama. These guys are gonna love it. It's gonna sell just like Chapter the Delta did, just like Chapter the Delta continued to sell, and the Force, because it's full of drama. I didn't want that for my life. I didn't want that for my readers. I wanted them to see growth. So Slash, thank you for sending in this topic because it made me pick up my own mirror again.
I hope that Slash is doing his work as we talk through some of this.
Stop.
Because
stop.
Well, we all need work, and he from what I recognize how he grew up, he lost a lot of friends, and so I just know that he have things that he had to work.
I mean, we all have lost, and
a significant
that's what got me. That's what placed me on this journey. Loss.
Yeah,
yeah,
because I know. I remember seeing him in a video with Tim Smoot.
Yeah.
And I was telling my son this quickly, just a little history, right quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was telling my son, I said, before there was all of this, the East Bank or across the river, the Hot Boys, the West Bank rappers was doing some stuff, and Tim Smoot, was rocking a house. And so I remember like them shooting a video at the little place in Kennedie Heights.
Right.
And across the highway. And I remember Mark being in that video. And I was like, when I played tennis with him, the video came out a couple of years before I played tennis with him. And when I played tennis with him, the couple of times we hit, of course, he was much greater than I am. I don't think
let's cut to the comments real quick because I'm getting real bad hate mail. I'm getting real bad hate mail here.
Shannon says, as it pertains to relationships, I believe everyone we meet serves a purpose, and they all come with lessons for us to learn. Doesn't mean they're meant to stay in our lives indefinitely, and there are and will be relationships that naturally die off because of growth or lack of it, and we have to recognize that it's okay when it happens. You have to recognize each person's season. Yeah.
Okay, so going back to what I was saying about his work, I know that a lot of the people, when I go back in my mental and recall the video, a lot of the people in the video are no longer here, and they were friends of Mark's. And so, that's a whole nother topic of what happens when you weren't ready to break those boundaries with people and disconnect from them, and then it happens. How do you heal? Like, because that's a lot of our hurt and healing, our hurt and toxic come from when we weren't ready to cut those, when we wasn't ready to cut those, when we are not ready to disconnect, and either like chances or unchances, like if someone passes away or dies or whatever, we wasn't ready to cut that cord, and it got cut, and now we're left to pick up the piece, and that creates a whole nother talk. Be honest,
as far as healing personally, I don't believe that no one could tell me how to heal and what have you, right? That's something that you have to figure out for yourself. I had to figure that out on my own. Even I went through counseling and everything, but I didn't get over the hump until I got myself over the hump. You follow me? As far as
let's hear. I would like to, not to interrupt, I would like to hear from Coach Dee on what I just said, what she thinks about that.
Here's the thing. I spent 18 years in the Army, so death to me is inevitable. I know that we all die. Nobody is getting out of this life alive, right? And
Absolutely.
I think if you have a clear understanding of death and you allow yourself to grieve, death is a lot different than when you don't allow yourself to grieve. Like I have
Absolutely.
lost good friends. I have one who I carry a challenge coin that has his face on it in my purse every day. Best
Right.
person that you ever meet. And I grieved for them. But here's the thing, though I know that those people would not want me to stay in grief because
Right.
they know
Yeah.
that life is for the living. And that
Right.
yes, I love them. Yes, I always have memories for them, but they are no longer with us. And we will continue on. And sometimes we'll laugh when we go to events. We'll pour out a drink for them. But you know what? Life continues on. I have
Exactly.
PTSD, and I have people who tell me, "Oh, you'll get over it if you just get outside more." I'm like, the fuck? No, we need
Honestly,
to
that
live our
is
life. We're just stupid. Yeah, like there are in your journey. We all have our own journeys, and we all have our own healing, and we need to make sure that we heal in the way that works best for us. How that looks is completely up to us,
exactly.
right?
We
And
got
if somebody tells you
some,
doing it wrong, that's when you put up a firm boundary and say, "No, this is what I need to do at this time in my life."
exactly. We don't relate at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate. Look like we got some back and forth in the comment section. Let's get here real quick. Let's see what's going on.
I like that.
So Shan said, healing is a personal journey just like grief. Coach D, what does allowing yourself to grieve actually look like? So there's 5 stages of grief, and you need to go through all of them. There is a stage where you'll be angry that you have lost this person. I have lost some people that are, the
Exactly.
world deserves to have them, but they're no longer with us, right? And this is why I am so fierce about suicide prevention, because
Exactly.
I've lost people who should be here because they didn't get the help that they needed. And
Um,
you laugh, you cry, you get angry, you come to terms with it. Sometimes you go back a couple of steps, but you have to go through all the stages to where you come to just an understanding that yes, I love them, yes, I wish they were here, but they are no longer here,
exactly.
right?
We did a podcast on the 5 steps of grief and loss. I've spoken on that over the years throughout my travels with these book tours. And we did a podcast on it about a year and a half ago. And that's how I actually got over Nan and Greg. I went because I knew the 5 steps of grief and loss because I always talked about it. I've always
Can
talked
can
about the
y'all go
steps.
over those 5 steps again? Not to interrupt you. Can you give us the 5 steps again?
The 5 steps. Sometimes you first of all, you're gonna denial. You're gonna be in denial, and
Okay.
it's not in that order. But you'll go into denial, then you'll accept it, then you'll get mad, then you'll want them back, then you're not want them. That's almost like 5 steps of grief and loss. You could actually attach that to a divorce as well.
Mm-hmm.
You go
Any
back
kind of
and forth
loss.
with the emotions, any type of loss, any
Yep.
type of loss. So I was
Okay.
able to get over that because I knew the 5 steps of grief and loss because I've always spoken on that. I've spoken on the
Yeah.
5 steps of grief and loss for about 20 years. So I was able to get on over that hump. And a lot of folks would ask me, like, wow, you lost your mother and your brother, so close together. And how you coping with it? Because I knew the process. I knew the
Right.
process. I
Yep.
knew the process. So and the thing about it, I mean, you have to have your head on tack to deal with stuff like this. This is not an easy thing. And still to this day, I think about them, but I don't have the crying spells anymore. I don't all that stuff because I know it's stages that I go through. Still to this day, it's been 5 years. I still go through those moments.
Oh yeah. I forgot about it.
Yeah,
Denial, anger.
absolutely.
Bargaining
Acceptance, bargaining,
Yes.
all that stuff.
and
Yeah,
depression and acceptance.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. And it,
So
it doesn't have it does it's not just for people, it's for the end of a relationship. You lose a pet, you lose a job, you lose a
exactly
pair of earrings, right?
everything
Grief is grief is not just for death.
I just
at
had
all.
an aha moment. I just had an aha moment. I just
Good
had a
stuff.
moment.
What is it?
Good
Share.
stuff.
I have an aha moment because during COVID, people experienced a lot of this
Mhm.
grief, but they never got to moan because they was trying to navigate the pandemic. And
Yeah.
But
now, you come outside of it and we all have to get back to regular living. and never had an opportunity to go through these 5 stages of different people that we
Exactly.
may have lost during a pandemic on multiple occasions with each person. All of
Let
these
me
phases.
let me add to that when we talk about these the COVID and the lockdown, right? A ton of
Mhm.
people you saw having mental breakdowns. They didn't know it was a mental breakdown. You know why they didn't know it? Because they
Hmm.
finally had to face themselves. You're finally
Mhm.
there with yourself. You're finally there alone. You finally had to turn that mirror inward. You finally had to take off those rose-colored glasses. You're there every single day.
Yep.
That's when you see people started talking about. That's when you saw. I'm sorry. That's when you saw people talking about mental health. That shit been there,
Hmm.
but COVID made it
Yeah,
magnified it
because
a
yeah,
thousand
because
times over.
yeah, because we're
Because a lot
like
of people cannot be with themselves.
listen, COVID put me back probably 6 years with my PTSD therapy because
Exactly.
my coping skill is overworking. So that didn't happen. So you're left with your own thoughts.
Exactly.
And listen, anybody else is out there, I will admit it was a rough time for me. I'm still trying to get back to where I was. And
Exactly.
it's, you know what, people don't realize that there are so many people that have trauma who've never been allowed to voice that they have trauma.
At all.
And
At all.
COVID brought it all out
All out. This is why you
because
see these
people
people
were alone.
spazzing out. This is why you see these people spazzing out online.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
here's the
That's what
thing
I'm
though.
saying. I'm like,
When
people
when when you
can't take nothing else.
when you see these people, we shouldn't gawk at these people. And I'm talking to
Right.
Facebook. I'm talking to it was 23,000 people on Instagram. I'm talking to TikTok. All these folks. When you see people and trauma showing, like the old folks used to say, showing their skirt, give them a call, a private call, not a comment. Give them a
Yeah.
call. So it's not easy for people to face themselves. It's really not easy. And I thought about that when COVID was going on, because that's when this happened to me right before COVID, right? So as I,
Right.
going through the rehab and whatnot, I'm like, man, a lot of people gonna struggle. They're gonna really struggle. And I was telling my ex-girlfriend at the time, I was like, they're gonna have some trouble like this. She was like, what you mean? I said, you're gonna see some crazy stuff, people killing it, one another and everything, because they can't face themselves. They're
Because
finally
people are
forced to
like, I
face
can't have
themselves.
one more thing happen. I actually ran into a young man who was very close to his dad, and he's a nice guy. And we ran into each other less than a year ago. And he was telling me, he said, I killed my daddy.
Yeah.
And I said,
Wow.
what? He said, I had COVID and I gave my daddy COVID. And so I was like, you didn't kill your daddy though, but I'm like, he got to deal with that shit the rest of his life, that he thinks
Right.
that he did that. So
Right.
if I run into him, I'm going to encourage him to get some help because again,
Absolutely.
definitely that was some things going on when I ran into him that I wanted to unpack with him. But yeah, no, he didn't kill
Mhm.
his dad.
Exactly. Let's get to Mark's comments because he's actually the one that actually
Mark
got
says we
this
relate
topic.
or not relate to those people along the way, whether friends, associates, in relationships, or marriages. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
But
And we're
back to the
people. We're
relate
constantly changing.
back to the relate as far as the topic goes. So, we have to be honest with ourselves. Again, my problem was I didn't communicate that I was bored. I didn't communicate that, hey, this relationship has ran its course. I'm not interested anymore. I didn't communicate it. So that was on me. So we have to take responsibility for the toxic we bring to our own party and be honest about
Yeah,
it. Go
going
ahead. Go
back
ahead.
to that situation now, as we've navigated this conversation tonight, I recognize that whoever this lady was that you were treating, because she was a nice girl, but I think you had outgrown her. And I think she just didn't recognize that she had been outgrown. And so I just remember her putting water out. They had some leftover things from the wedding.
Yeah.
And I remember her like trying to put them in a van or something. She was just really being extremely supportive. And I almost to the point
Right.
of like She was being supportive to a point of like, and the thing about it is Greg don't they if you around y'all, Greg don't let women work. Like you're not
No, you
lifting up
don't.
water. You
No,
know
you
what I'm
don't.
saying?
Yeah,
And so, which is y'all daddy raised some men. And so when
absolutely. I
she was
appreciate
doing the
that.
stuff that men do, I was like, why is she doing that? You know, and I was looking at you like, aren't you not gonna stop her? And that's what made me ask you the question that um when he got married, were you there? And your answer was a good answer, 30%. You weren't there 100%. And so that's why that she was
I
picking
wasn't.
up that water and nobody stopped her.
Yeah, I
Oh, he
wasn't.
tried
That's
that
that,
nonsense
that
with me too. Like, did knock my door. I'm like, sir, I don't know who you think you're talking to.
Uh-oh. Shannon has a question. What she said, I can't see that.
How long did you date this woman?
About maybe a year and a half, 2 years,
2 days.
something like
2 days.
Stop.
2 days, Shan. 2 days. And she was nice. She was a nice girl. And he was the 2 days. He didn't treat it right. No,
It
I
was
don't know how
about
long.
2 years. I say about a year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
But I don't know
Mhm.
because it came on me when you discussed Michigan. Like maybe there was a time, and now you need to go on back to writing because I think there might have been a time when you was here that you wasn't here and you were somewhere
I,
else. Because
Urs,
you
I've written about all that. I've written about those books
no,
are
but I'm
in Barnes and Noble and
to
Walmart
this
and
here.
Amazon.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, but okay. So you know how there might have been a time when you were here it physically, but you did not appreciate living down south because you had gone all across the
Yeah, honestly,
US.
I didn't even like living down south anymore at all. I felt like I was an alien. Honestly, I really did. Because I did not relate. Let's get back to the topic. I did not relate to
A lot of
people.
stuff we were doing
I
and what we
didn't
was doing.
relate.
And you know, I want to bring this back because even let's we can stay on the topic, but honestly, it's crazy because just maybe like 2 months ago, after my son had well, at the beginning of the summer, because you know he travels throughout the US, the middle of the US,
Right.
right?
Right.
The heartland, that's what they call it, the heartland, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas and all of
Gotcha.
that. And he went to Walmart. He and I went to Walmart nearby your house in Elmwood, and he was
Mhm.
looking really weird and stuff. And I was like, "What's going on with you?" He was like, "This way too many people." And I was like, "What you mean?"
Urs, thanks for dropping my location like that.
Okay, I'm
We're
sorry.
we're
Sorry.
broadcasting in 175 different countries, Urs. Come on, please.
Oh, well,
We're
they ain't
gonna
gonna
have to
fire
do
you. They ain't gonna fire
folks.
you.
We're gonna have
But
to do a part two.
yeah,
What'd you say, D?
We're gonna have to do a part two. It's 8 minutes after 9.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a part two. So we'll do a part two. This is gonna be real good. We'll do a part two.
yeah.
So any
Um,
closing remarks from you guys so we can get out of here real quick?
For me, always maintain your boundaries, no matter what. Boundaries are important, and stay for another sunrise.
I love
Urs,
that.
Urs.
Um, I guess I'll go online saying, just try to make sure you connect with yourself in a way that you can protect your peace and protect your boundaries. You know, if it's peace you're seeking, because in order to know your boundaries, you know, you need to know where you are. You know, be very associated and affiliated with yourself in order to make sure you're protecting and being holding sacred yourself, holding is, you know, what's going on with yourself sacred. You know,
Exactly. And in order to, I'll
we
finish it
all
off.
are kind of temples.
In order
I'm
to
sorry.
connect with yourself, it's imperative that again you take responsibility for the toxic you bring to your own party. Take responsibility
Yeah, I like
for
that.
losing interest. Take responsibility for not communicating, and be man enough or woman enough to say that.
Hmm.
So be man enough and woman enough to say that. So we'll come back with a part two. Shout out to Slash for this thought provoking topic, man. Shout out to
Good job,
Slash. Shout out
Flash.
to Slash.
Shout out to Shan for staying engaged and Slash and Uncle L. Thank y'all for staying engaged. Thank y'all for watching. For those who are
Good stuff.
watching, you can catch us at Go.
Apple,
Catch us at
Spotify, Taylor Kennedy TV, YouTube. We're broadcasting in 175 different countries and regions. Actually, I'm kind of tired from last week because I double dipped all week. I filled in on end of season podcast with Tammy. Her son was out. He's a UFC fighter. He was out fighting, so I filled in for him 7 a.m. every morning. And on Thursday, I double dipped with Coach Catherine, the nutrition coach over in France. So it was a good time all that week. Worked out with Al. We did water laps, salt water laps, and all that stuff. He's doing a great job. I'll see you in the morning, brother. We're gonna do it all over again. So really appreciate you guys.
Al.
We really appreciate you guys. And part 2 will be coming on Sunday. We'll actually unpack this thing and get into the trauma of it all, because Coach Dee and I love to talk about trauma. All right. So until then, see you guys on the other side of Sunday. You guys be epic.
Be epic.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Conversations with Trent in conjunction with Taylor Kennedy Media and your radio network would like to thank you for calling in and listening to tonight's episode. We hope that tonight's conversation offended you just enough to turn your mirror inward to come back for more. So until next week's conversation, be epic.